my man. But she be tripping, like, she be upset. Like, she don't be having that much playtime sometimes. I got you, baby.
This is a July homicide in the Chatham neighborhood. This happened near 86th and State on July 26th. So you see the three people there. They get out of that Dodge Durango, that all-black car.
Chicago's streets have always created legends, but few names send a chill down your spine quite like 051 Melly. In a world of Instagram beefs and clout-chasing diss tracks, Melly stayed different. He didn't need songs to make you fear him. He didn't need the internet to spread his name. All he needed was silence and a terrifying reputation that grew like wildfire across the city. To the outside world, Melly was just another name in a long list of fallen soldiers. But inside Chicago, especially among those who lived this life day to day, he was something else entirely. A ghost in the flesh. A silent force you couldn't see coming.
Come get some, nigga. YM.
We gonna put them together like a Lego.
All we do and free ooh-ah.
He gonna put you together like a Lego.
Until it was too late. And when Melly finally fell, it wasn't to his enemies. It was to the people he trusted most. This is the chilling story of how 051 Melly rose through the ranks of one of Chicago's deadliest street cliques, and how even legends can't outrun the karma they help create. Before the fear, before the whispers, before the countless bodies, there was just Yarmel Williams, a kid growing up in Chicago's unforgiving South Side. Life wasn't about dreams of fame, it was about survival. Born into an environment where every wrong turn could be fatal, Melly didn't waste time pretending the rules of the world were fair. He learned early trust would get you killed, hesitation would get you buried. While most kids feared the streets, Melly adapted. He wasn't the loudest, he wasn't the flashiest, he was the one paying attention, watching, listening, absorbing the moves of older hitters long before he officially joined the ranks. By his teenage years, Melly was associated with 051 Young Money, a smaller but highly feared faction. Their territory wasn't the biggest, but their impact was deadly, and Melly, he stood out even among them. Older members noticed how calm he was. There was no desperation for attention, no emotional outbursts, just cold calculation. Melly didn't move unless he knew it was the right time. He was like a chess player, always thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. And that mentality would soon turn him from a foot soldier into one of Chicago's most feared street figures. It didn't happen overnight. Melly's name started bubbling under the surface, not from social media antics, but from the aftermath of real violence. First, it was minor. Whispers that he was somehow connected to the shooting, that disappearance, nothing proven, nothing concrete. But the streets listen, and when enough incidents stack up around someone's name without them ever getting caught, a reputation is born. While others dissed enemies publicly for clout, Melly stayed invisible. He didn't need to drop names, he didn't need to flaunt bodies. The silence around him was scarier than any rap lyric. By the mid-2000s teens, it became common knowledge. If Melly was looking for you, your clock was ticking. His alleged involvement in multiple high-profile shootings only fueled the legend. Some say he was connected to as many as 15 or more hits, others insist the number is even higher. But Melly never talked. No songs, no interviews, no lives. Only the streets told a story, and Durk and their version painted Melly as a near mythical force of violence. He was proof that you didn't have to be famous to be feared. You just had to be efficient. In a world where every teenager was flashing guns on Instagram Live and beefing in comment sections, Melly stayed an enigma. He didn't post threats. He didn't argue online. He didn't brag after shootings, and that made him 10 times more dangerous. See, most hitters expose themselves. They're emotional, they want credit, they can't resist a clout drug. But Melly moved like a professional, almost military-like in his discipline. When he slid, you wouldn't know until it was over, and he wouldn't speak on it after. He understood something most street dudes didn't. The less you talk, the longer you live. The quieter you are, the more people fear the unknown. And that fear, it kept Melly alive for years in a city Where most shooters didn't last more than a season, he became a ghost story, someone whispered about but rarely seen. And when people did spot him moving around, they stayed silent, heads down, hoping he wasn't there for them. Now nobody can say with 100% certainty exactly how many bodies Melly was tied to, but the rumors are chilling. Over the years, insiders, street blogs, and even court records hinted that Melly's fingerprints, if not literal then strategic, were all over some of Chicago's deadliest moments. It said that Melly was allegedly linked to the deaths of rivals who had gotten too comfortable, thinking they were untouchable in their own neighborhoods. There were hits that looked random until you connected the dots. Ops who had insulted 051 suddenly dropping days later. Enemies thought they were safe at parties, gas stations, or even inside houses, only for chaos to erupt out of nowhere. The sheer number of bodies surrounding 051 Young Money during Melly's rise is staggering, and while Melly's name wasn't officially attached to all of them, it didn't have to be. The streets knew. His legend wasn't built by courts or newspapers, it was built by survivors, people who lived to tell about the ghosts who moved without warning, the killer you never saw coming, the storm that hit before you could even recognize the sky had darkened. As deadly as Melly was to his enemies, he was even more dangerous to those around him, and that's where the seeds of his downfall were planted. Inside 051 Young Money, paranoia was a living, breathing thing. Money, betrayal, and mistrust poisoned everything. Old alliances started crumbling under the weight of street politics. Melly's cold mentality, the same thing that made him a legend, made him a liability. He didn't have friends, he had alliances of convenience. And when loyalty is based on fear, it only takes one moment of doubt for the knives to come out. There were whispers that Melly didn't fully trust his own set anymore. And worse, that some within 051 didn't fully trust Melly either. People he once slid with started wondering if they'd be next, because Melly had no emotional attachments. If he thought you were a threat, it didn't matter if you were family, you were expendable. In the jungle of Chicago's South Side, even apex predators get circled when they start to bleed. And Melly's enemies weren't just across the street anymore, they were standing next to him. It didn't happen in a wild shootout. It didn't happen during a high-stakes mission, it happened at a party. On September 1st, 2019, Melly attended a house party near South Cottage Grove Avenue. He thought it was friendly territory, a place where he could relax his guard for once, but it was a setup. Sources say tensions though had been simmering within 051 Young Money for months. Old grudges, power struggles, hidden beefs. And that night, everything exploded. Multiple shooters opened fire inside the party. The chaos was instant. Bullets flying, people diving for cover. And right in the middle of it all, Melly caught several shots to the head and body. He died on the scene. No last words, no warning, just silence. The same silence he once used as his greatest weapon. And the coldest part, it wasn't outsiders who took him out. It was his own. The same hands that once shook his in loyalty were now pulling the triggers that ended his legend. Melly's death sent shockwaves through Chicago's underworld, not because a feared killer was gone, but because of what it revealed about the streets. It showed that fear alone isn't enough. Power built on paranoia eventually turns inward. After Melly's murder, 051 Young Money never fully recovered. The set became fractured, trust shattered beyond repair, and other sets watched and learned. Even the most dangerous men are just a setup away from being vulnerable. Melly had outplayed the streets for years, but in the end, he couldn't outplay human nature. Fear might keep enemies away, but it can never protect you from betrayal, especially when you're the one who taught everyone around you that loyalty was disposable. Melly left behind no album, no viral interviews, no long speeches, only a legacy built on silence, precision, and terror, and a haunting reminder that in the life he chose, even the ghosts eventually get hunted. In a city where death is constant background noise, 051 Melly wasn't just another victim of Chicago's endless cycle. He was the cycle. He fed it, perfected it, lived by it, and ultimately died by it. The The silence he used as his greatest weapon became his final punishment. Because when your whole life is built on fear, there's no one left to mourn you when it's your turn to fall. And in the streets that made him a legend, Melly's name is still whispered today. Not out of love, but out of fear that even now, some ghosts never really die.